everybody, do you want to make your own jewelry and trinket boxes at home or to give as gifts? With just a few simple items and some molds, you can make your own at home simple and easy. Stay tuned as we resin together. Hey everybody, and welcome. We're here making these jewelry boxes today, the little trinket boxes, whatever you want to call them. I got these molds a while back. They are great molds. They have been very good for me. Now this will be a more simple video, but the results I think are phenomenal and they're so easy to do. You just fill these up. Now what I do is I've ordered these molds and I get them in. I fill the bottom and the lid with water, and I measure how much that is so I know how much resin to pour out, because when you're pouring something like this, the last thing you want to do is not have enough and have to mix up more resin to fill it up all the way. Then you risk the fact that your colors may not perfectly match and things like that. So make sure you know how much resin you need for each one when you do that. And so today we're going to use 4 different colors just to make things interesting. We're using the May Spring Golden Labradorite, a beautiful color. I've not used that on one of these boxes yet, so we'll see how that turns out. And then the bronze stone we'll use on this middle one. I think that'll look nice and it'll be a pretty color. It's kind of dark, but it's got a lot of sparkle to it. And then the next one is the May Spring Violet Crystal. We used that one on the purple and silver coasters we made last time, so that's a beautiful color and I think that'll look nice. And then the Mermaid Dust, that's a color changing one. All of these are from May Spring, so very nice pigment powders that they make, and I will link those in the description so you can order those if you want them. And then our resin today is the FGCI Fiberglass Coatings Incorporated Super Clear Liquid Glass. It's a deep pour resin. It mixes 2 parts resin to 1 part hardener, so make sure you measure that correctly because it definitely makes a big difference. You have to measure it correctly. I like this resin because it is deep pour. It is like water. When you pour it, it is very liquidy. It releases bubbles almost instantly. The downside is it is going to take about 3 days for these to cure hard enough to where they can come out of these molds without deforming and bending and messing them up. Good thing for y'all is you're going to see it almost instantly. I'll have to wait for them to come out. But for something like this, you just have to have that deep pour resin to make sure that it works correctly. And so we'll get started on this and we'll push this first one in. So I have mixed up my resin. Now I mixed up 2 big containers, 17 ounces each, to make sure I had enough to do the pours that I wanted to do. And so I'm going to use these cups that I get. They're mixing cups off of Amazon as well, to make sure that I get enough resin into each of these to fill them to the top, and I'm going to mix each color. So we'll get started on this first one. Now it takes 7 ounces because I've written that on there. So I'll pour out my 7 ounces. Now I mixed this a while ago and I let it sit for about 20 minutes. Now the good thing is this resin has a pot life of about 24 hours before it really starts to set and gel. So you've got plenty of time to let bubbles come out. You've got plenty of time to work with it. It's really a set it and forget it kind of resin, and not real good for making things like coasters and things like that because it takes so long to set up. The colors really run together. Now if you're wanting something with a lot of mixing of the colors and intense striations, you can absolutely use it for that, but those dark colors will probably take over everything because of the amount of curing time. So just note that, and it really depends on what you're looking for as far as, what resin you want to use and the results you want to see. So we'll start with this Golden Labradorite. Remember, a little bit of resin powder goes a long way, so don't go overboard. You don't have to use too much, and you just want to make sure it gets mixed really well. So we're going to let that sit and settle a little bit. So this next one is 10. So I'm going to actually have to split this one, but we'll make it work. All these cups get stuck together. There we go. All right, so we're gonna do 5 and 5. And then I'll actually combine them together so the colors can meld. I just don't want to try to mix 10 ounces in these cups. The measurements go up to 8 ounces, but I don't want to push my luck, you know what I mean? So we'll do 5 and 5. So this one is the bronze stone from Mayspring. Again, we'll just get a nice stick full for each one. Put that back closed. Alright, so this next one is 8.5, so we're gonna eyeball this one and just fill it a little bit over the 8 line. Unlike, we're not measuring the resin in this one as far as ratios, you know, 1 to 1, 1 to 1, or 2 to 1. So we're not to worry so much about the quantities, just make sure there's enough in there. There we go. And then finally this mermaid powder. This one is another one. Actually, all of the powders we're using today are part of Mayspring's color shift or their jewel tone, which also kind of has a pearlized or color shifting idea, like a two-tone color. All right, so a little bit, just gonna wipe that off from the top there, a little clump that hadn't quite mixed in. There we go. So again, now that I have these mixed, I'm gonna put that one to the side and come back. So all the bubbles have come out, and I'm just gonna give it a gentle stir. Again, this is a very low viscosity resin, so we don't have to worry about bubbles as much, but you still want to let as much come out as possible because it's just going to do a lot better that way. So I think we are good with that one, so I'm just going to gently pour. Now you want to try to get as close to the surface as you can, and I recommend pouring slowly. That will give time for the resin to come in and fill in the voids and not trap air bubbles. So you definitely want to do that. So once this is full over that center there, I'm gonna stop and work in this one. So again, I'm gonna pour very slowly because there is like a handle that it's got to fill up, and then once it's full I can speed up a little bit more, but I'm not going crazy because it's got to go under the lip of this mold. So I want to make sure that as much as possible we go slow so there's time for the air bubbles to come out from under that lip, so we get a nice solid lid. There we go. All right, and that has all the way around under the edge. So I'm just going to give a little bit more in this one. You want to fill it up until it hits the top. A little more in that one. There we go. So now that has domed ever so slightly. Now again, because this is a super non-viscous resin, it won't dome. So don't try to fill it up till it's domed over the top. It's just going to run over if you do that. So do be careful. Now this one we said we were going to have to do in 2 parts of 5 each. So I'm actually going to grab a larger cup to put this in so that we can mix both in here. Now I'm pouring down the side of the container on purpose because that will help keep as many of those bubbles out as we can. You can see in the bottom in there's some of that didn't quite mix. Now that's the downside to mixing in larger quantities, is it's hard to make sure you get all those out, so be careful when you do that. So I'm going to pour this one in as well. Down the side, Doug. Don't forget. There we go. Alright, and just to make sure the colors have combined and it should be pretty close, but I'm just going to give it a good stir to make sure it's all mixed in together. And then again, just like before, I'm going to get down as close to the surface as I can and pour slowly. And let it water fall down the sides and fill up slowly. It's got a lot of little facets and things in there, so we definitely want to make sure that, again, we're filling it slow enough that the air has time to escape before it gets covered, or else it'll trap little micro bubbles in there. There we go. Now this one takes so much resin because this top is solid. It is just a deep pour of solid resin. So, and don't worry about what the pattern looks like right now as far as the color goes. It's going to change as it cures. So as far as like these circles and striations and everything, it's not going to look like that when it's all said and done. We'll see. I have to see. In fact, you guys are going to know what it looks like before I do in this video right now, because you'll have seen the introduction with the pictures of these. So I want to say right here, I don't know if you can see this, but the resin has come up and connected over the top just a little bit. Now you want to try to clean that off if you can, because that will create a place where it could pinch the mold and make it very difficult to unmold it, because it'll pinch that silicone. So make sure you check for that. Alright, so now the violet crystal. Just going to give that bottom a good scrub. Make sure we've got all that. Just a really pretty color. It's almost see-through because I didn't use a lot of it. But I think that'll look pretty. So we'll pour that in there. Hopefully I'll do this so y'all can see it. It's got a shimmery color shift effect to it, so again, I think that's a real pretty one. Alright, so we got the base covered, so I'm going to switch and fill up this one. Again, it's got a crown little knob on the top, so I'm going to get that filled first. There we go. And then fill it up from the middle. Again, the closer you can get to the surface that you're pouring, the less likely you are to introduce bubbles into your product. So try to get down close if you can. And there we go. Just going to put the last of that in there. There we go. Alright, put that in there. And then last but not least, the mermaid dust. Again, just going to give that bottom part of the cup a good scrub. Make sure we've got everything mixed in. Real pretty color on that one. Yeah, I think that'll look nice too. And then, can't pour it left-handed, sorry, so I'm going to have to block it for a second. There we go. This last one. Now these purple one and this last one are actually the same mold, so just different colors, but they are the same mold. I had another one that kind of had a pointy top and a very small base. It was a smaller type of trinket box, but unfortunately when it arrived, it had been smashed together all through shipping, and so when it got here it was deformed, and I tried everything I could, but I just could not get it to get back into a shape that would do, so I use 4 of the same. Alright, so we've poured these. Now I'm just going to take my heat gun and just lightly go over the top to burst some of these bubbles, because they'll leave odd shapes on the top, or on these are actually the bottoms, but still we want to make sure we can get those out if at all possible. So I'm going to try to get these bubbles out. And there we go. And this resin works really good. There's almost no bubbles, nice patterns, and even the bubbles that were there just came out real easy because of the bubble release on that liquid glass from FGCI. So we have these all ready, and I'll come back for the unmolding. Of course, for you, just a few seconds. For me, it'll be 3 days. So we'll see you in just a little bit. Okay guys, welcome back. So we're ready to unmold our jewelry boxes. It's been 3 days for me, and they're pretty set up. They're still a little bit soft, but sometimes that helps because you need to adjust the openings a little bit to make sure the lids fit. So it's a little thing you have to, I would recommend taking them out, not when they're super soft, but definitely before they turn completely hard. It makes it much easier. So we'll start with this first one. This one is the one, this was the mermaid dust. So we'll see how that turned out. And I'm probably not going to remember all the colors that were on all of these. I'll have to look at my paper and see. It's been 3 days and I've done other projects too. So that one looked real pretty. A lot of good design. Now if you wanted to, you could go in and paint these designs. I've not done that, but it's definitely something you could do. An oil-based paint marker would do that, and you can make that as intricate as you like. And I'll pull this one out. It's got a big crown. There we go. So sometimes it's hard to get out. So this one, let's see, what color did we make this one? Oh, this is the golden labradorite. That's right. The May Spring golden labradorite. There we go. Now I got in a bunch of molds the other day that are more jewelry boxes. I enjoy making these and they make great gifts. So I got some more in, so we'll be trying those. There's a heart-shaped one and one that's like a teardrop, and some others. So more ideas, more things to try. And of course I want to get to the point where I start trying to do some color mixes and things like that with these, because I think that would be real pretty as well. There we go. It's hard to get that knob out. Make sure it's still good. There we go. Put that on there, nice and pretty as well. Now I'm going to let these, after the video ends, we're going to put these off to the side. I would encourage you to not leave the lids on them for right now if you store them. Give them a few more days to harden up, because I did have a set that I put the lid on too quickly and it's cured with that lid on, and it did not come back off. I had to cut it to get it back off, and it ruined it. So do be careful, because it will absolutely set up on you and you won't get it back off. Now, this one is the violet crystal. There we go. Same design as the mermaid dust, but in the purple violet crystal. Take the lid off this one. There we go. Perfect. Looks real pretty purple. And then last but not least, this is the bronze stone that we used. But I hope that you've enjoyed watching these, and maybe you've seen some ideas for things that you can do back home. and try these out. Don't be afraid. In the future, we'll try some color combinations, maybe some pouring swirls and things like that. And then, of course, your suggestions. If you've enjoyed today's video, please like it. And then if you would like to make sure you see future videos, then absolutely please do subscribe. But most of all, we thank you for joining us,